Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 10th. Tonight is a planning and zoning meeting. We have a public hearing at a general meeting, and we are in Town Hall in room 206. First item on the agenda is a special permit application number 310 Darien Shoe Repair at 1959 Boston Post Road. Proposal to establish a shoe repair personal service establishment within a 300 plus or minus square foot single-story building space formerly occupied by Allstate Insurance Company. The property is located on the north side of Boston Post Road at the northeast corner formed by the intersection with Noroton Avenue, shown on Assessor's Map number 42 as Lot 1 in the NB zone. This, I know, is one of the Corbin Subdistrict Development tenants, which is being relocated.
That's correct.
Mr. Genovese was kind enough to find this person a home, and it's next to Mama Carmela's. We recently also got a letter from the Architecture Review Board, even though there's a typo in it, that they wrote a federal report approving all their signage. Okay?
That's correct.
So what do we need to do, Jeremy?
Well, proposed space is the standalone space on the eastern side of the property, which was formerly an Allstate drive-up claims. And it's a shared parking lot with a number of other tenants, Mama Carmela's, Papa Joe's, Nail Salon, and then there's a tenant soon to be coming before the commission where the Puritan Stationery, which was a long-time tenant. The subject space is about 300 square feet. It's a proposed low-intensity, one-man show. Really not even room for a second person to even stand in the building. So it really isn't really a traffic generator. The parking lot at times can get a little crowded, but I don't think this 300 square foot space is going to be the person generating the traffic.
The parking lot, if it ever gets crowded, it really gets crowded at off hours, not during the day.
Usually what we find is when two restaurants are going, like a lunchtime,
Okay.
The parking lot gets pretty crowded. The parking lot is also shared on weekends with the churches across the street, Noroton Presbyterian to the west, St. John's Roman Catholic to the south.
Okay. I think we have Mr. Genovese to present the application. Would you like to present, sir?
Sure. I'm David Genovese. I'm presenting on behalf of, I guess, the owner of the building, Mama's Post Road. Frank Calandro, the owner of Mama Carmela's, bought the building last year. And we came up with this idea as part of the Corbin project to relocate people. So we've been working hard with all the tenants in the existing Corbin properties for various temporary and permanent locations. I'm happy to say we've got a plan for everybody now. We had the last meeting today. So we have a temporary space for everybody that's basically agreed. And we've been relocating certain people out of the project. So Spiro, the owner of Darien Shoe Repair, needs a very small space, has a very low rent that he could pay. So it didn't make sense in the downtown to move him twice. This is a perfect spot. It's got post road visibility, plenty of parking. It's a one-man band, as Jeremy said. He loves the space, and Frank Calandro was happy to get a tenant. The building's been empty for many, many years. We found a place also, which we may be back to you for Pause and Reflect, the dog groomer. So they're going to go to the other side of town, over to a space that was a lice treatment center behind the Complete Angler. So we solved that problem too, and she's going to propose to move in the next few weeks. But this is a simple application. It was an insurance adjuster office, which is I guess would be considered like a business service or a professional service type use. It just, we wanted to make sure that we didn't put Spiro in here permanently and then there was a problem from a zoning point of view. So this is just out of an abundance of caution that we came to. But we already did go to ARB for the sign.
Right, I saw that. Jeremy, so the reason why we're seeing this is because it's a special use?
It's a special permit use in the neighborhood business zone. It's a neighborhood business zone.
And the old use was a special permit use in neighborhood business zone, even though it's been closed for years?
It's been correct.
Okay. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to hold on for you because you just got here. Any questions?
No, sir.
Jim?
Not for me.
You good? Kara? Harry?
Just ask, hours is going to be open on the Sundays when
The churches are using it?
No, he won't be open on Sundays. He will be open on Saturdays. He is open on Saturdays, but I think he's closed Monday and then open Tuesday through Saturday. And his hours are like 9-ish to 5-ish.
That's all.
You might run into a funeral on a Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and really, it's 1 or 2 people at a time, max.
Great,
Yeah.
okay.
He's really happy, so, he was worried. He was in the same place for 38 years. He was Spiro the cobbler.
He's got a
38
smell
years.
back in the new store. You good?
I'm fine.
Good. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this application? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close. We have a first and a second. Yeah, sorry, you're out.
I'm out. I came late.
You're out.
Thank you for your support.
sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next, moving on. We're going to go to the general meeting. Now is a mandatory referral number 1, it was like number 1, in 2020, Darien Board of Selectmen, Noroton Avenue, West Avenue intersection, improvement project. Request for report regarding improvements in the Noroton Avenue, West Avenue intersection, including the proposed road widening. This has been on the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Town Public Works docket, I want to say since prior to 2015. We first saw it when the Heights at Darien were built, which is the old Alan O'Neill project. If you ever went by the site, there's a light stanchion that is like 15 feet back from the road, because that's where they've taken up the road. So we had to prove it then to make sure they didn't have to move that light stanchion twice. It was definitely detailed in the town plan of conservation and development, and the town was nice enough to do a application for mandatory referral, which is in accordance with state statutes. What did I miss, Jeremy?
Nope, that, as you mentioned, that we did include the state statute 8-24 in your packet, and because this is a widening of a public street, it needs a report from the commission, and in this case, I think we included in your packets, the widening is going to allow for a left turn lane going northbound on Noroton Avenue and going westbound on West Avenue. It will reduce the queuing. All new traffic lights will be put in, all new crosswalk signals, restriping, moving the stop bars so trucks can get, because with those gas stations, you get a lot of big delivery trucks, so it gives them a little more ease and room to maneuver. As Steve said, when Alan O'Neill was redeveloped, the commission envisioned a 15-foot wide easement, so the widening there is in keeping with that. 7 different easements are needed from nearby property owners. We are going before the RTM on the 16th, which is a week from Monday.
To get the money?
Well, the first step is for them to approve the acquisition of the property rights.
Got it.
And then we're going back to the RTM in April relative to the grant we're getting from the state through Western Connecticut Council of Governments to be able to authorize us to disperse the funds.
Cool.
So this is part of the state grant. It's been on the drawing board for, as Steve said, 4 years plus. And finally, we're at a point where we think we can do the work this summer,
The Board of Selectmen approved this
last week.
And then the other thing I think is important too, if you remember, as part of the Corbin project, the Chase Bank, which is on the next corner, is going to have a turning lane that goes right down Noroton Avenue. There's also a sequencing of the lights. They're going to start at this one and go all the way down to Ledge Road. I think that all that sequencing of lights being paid by Federal.
Federal Realty will be doing that. And then we have a second grant, which is in the works, to redo the intersection of Noroton and Ledge. You've all been to the transfer station on a weekend, and you're lined up waiting. So we're hopeful within the next year or two to be able to improve that intersection as well.
And how many different systems are those lights operating in now? Is it like
Right now,
3?
yeah, it's at least 3.
Good
So
question.
is it going to become 2 or 1?
Yes, one.
It'll just be 1?
Yeah.
So
The-
all of them will be,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
And the issue was, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm remembering wrong, was they were all independent.
Yeah.
They were going to wire them, hardwire them all, and then I think the technology switched to web-based. So it's going to be, aerial. So they're don't have to be wired, and it's a little bit cheaper.
Okay. And one person is controlling them now? Or
Well,
one
they-
station or something?
Correct.
Okay.
All
Because right now, you
Five.
guys weren't here for that, but there was 3 different ones.
Yeah, they were all independent. So you go from a green to a red, and red to a green. I've said enough. There's no one here from the city to the town to present it. Does anybody have any questions for Jeremy, me, or anybody else?
We drafted a report. The weird
Do you want
thing
to do
about,
that now, or you want to do that after?
well, these reports, one of the things which you see from the statute is it gives a very short turnaround for the town, the Planning and Zoning Commission, to report. The RTM is scheduled to meet on March 16th, which
Hold it back
is,
up for 1 second.
sure.
Does anyone have any questions on it? No. Is everybody in favor of doing a favorable report?
Yeah, I did have a question, though, if I can, just for this
Sure.
matter of curiosity more
Yep.
than anything else. The crosshatch in the northeastern area, that's not going to be a part of the drive, I guess. It's temporary.
Right,
Why is
there's
that
two types
temporary?
of easements. One is temporary, which means regrading. We'll go on that property, regrade it, kind of push back the slope. We're going to widen it out and then push back the slope. So we needed that to regrade their property. Once we're done with the grading, the easement goes away. We don't need to be on their property
We
anymore.
won't be driving
The
over that.
permanent
Okay.
easements, of which there's some, are for sidewalks. Again,
Right.
when you widen the road, you got to push the sidewalks a little further out.
Okay.
You have to connect them with the other sidewalks. So
Got it, thank you.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Can you just say again, 'cause the 2 left-hand turn lanes, where are they going to, I know you said one was going to be north.
northbound on Noroton,
Okay,
they're going to create a left turn lane,
okay. Oh, I see it, okay.
and this is on
So-
sheet IND01, which is the second page you got.
Mhm.
And so you can see a little, I'll call it a little left turn lane, which gets created.
Which is here, okay.
And then going west on West Avenue, you can see the newly created left turn lane there, which will allow people to turn left onto Noroton Avenue.
Those are the
Turn
markers.
left there,
Okay.
Okay, okay.
So really, the widening of the road, you're grabbing a couple feet on either side of the road, but the additional lane is in the center.
Okay.
With regards to Chase, since I brought it up, that lane is gonna be basically on the sidewalk of where Chase's existing side yard is now. So that's gonna,
Oh,
Eat up a whole
The center,
chunk.
the lane create, okay.
yeah, the Chase bank is here,
Yeah, I got it.
so it's gonna go like this. So all this is grass now, that's gonna go away, so you're gonna go.
If I go back to the discussion, to the extent I remember it all, about the Noroton Heights various developments, looking at this map or chart that you were referring to, IND1, going north on Noroton Avenue, when you get past the gas station, but you haven't gotten to where Seymour's used to be or the
Yeah.
dog kennel, there's a little jog, and something was gonna happen,
I was trying for that, yeah.
but it did, nothing happened.
No, I met with Jamie out there and with the Department of Public Works, because there's a jog that sits there,
Yeah,
and there's a piece of concrete wall that comes out from Seymour's property
right.
that's in it, and they'd have to do something. I don't know if that's being advanced when the state steps in and helps out with the budgets to connection, but that is not, what you're asking about is not part of this project at all.
Not,
I
Not
would
part of
love
this
to
project.
see it, would be.
Because as part of the state grant, you know, we had to sell the state on the safety, and this intersection, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The queuing problem, which
Mhm.
people see all the time. So, but the state is they review it, they have to approve the plans, and they're very strict in terms of towns trying to sneak in other things. You can imagine other communities saying, well, you're at it, state, can you approve this, this, and this? And by the way, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
So they're very strict in keeping it just solely to the parameters of what's justified as part of the project.
Okay.
We never got a survey from Seymour's, and that was, I haven't forgotten about it. Maybe someday.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay. Is everybody in agreement that we should draft a favorable report?
Yes.
Okay. Miraculously, Jeremy drafted a report for us in advance. Wow, Jeremy. Thank you, Fred. So in our packets, we have a mandatory referral. It's called Darien Planning Zoning, mandatory referral number 1-20, dated March 10th, 2020. Mandatory referral, Board of Selectmen, Noroton Avenue, West Center intersection request for report regarding improvements in the Noroton Avenue intersection, including the proposed road. Go ahead, Chairman.
Well, what we did in an effort to keep this moving along and allow the RTM to vote next week is we drafted a report outlining the basics of what we discussed tonight, included pages from the Town Plan of Conservation and Development, and so Fred and I drafted this up with the bottom line being the commission finds it consistent with the 2016 Town Plan of Conservation and Development.
That's the very last sentence. Any questions, comments, discussions on this? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Jen? Jim, second. All in favor?
6-0. Thank you.
Off to the races. Thank you, everybody. Good job on that one, Jeremy. And Fred, sorry about that.
No, they're not.
Okay, the next item up for bid is amendment to special site plan application number 291, special permit, the Royle at Darien, 719 Boston Post Road, request to install solar panels on a portion of the roof. This we approved a couple years ago. The building was partially redesigned as part of that application. I am told, but I don't necessarily remember, that in the original application, they had solar panels approved. I didn't remember that.
Well, it's
They
funny,
did.
we were a little uncertain. We didn't recall it. Fred and I went through the entire file tonight, which is here. We did see various elevations. We did not see the plans you have specifically before you tonight. Certainly, they wouldn't go into this level of detail for the solar panels. What was emailed to Fred earlier today is what George has in front of him. I think it's sheet E1-4 from the year on that is 2019, which is the details which show the location of the proposed solar panels on the roof. These would, in essence, only be visible as you're coming Academy Street going eastbound. You would be facing that elevation of the building. Probably not too visible from Boston Post Road, either going,
Isn't that
Definitely
Highland
not.
Avenue? It's Highland Avenue going eastbound, right?
might be Highland.
Yeah, I think it's
eastbound.
Highland, 'cause
Academy,
Academy's
you're
in
right, you're Academy.
I wanted to make sure this went on the agenda, that everybody knew about it, and that it just didn't appear someday.
Okay.
As a point of reference, we have approved, and in some instances not approved, solar panels on other buildings. We approved them on top of Darien self-storage.
You put them there.
Here?
We approved them here, some other schools. We did not approve them because we had no jurisdiction on the truck stops that are on 995. I don't think we did, I don't remember.
No, that was state project
State
on
does
state
that.
project.
So I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that it's open and public and transparent, that all of a sudden someday I don't appear there and somebody goes, why are those things up there? I think it's a great green initiative. And I'm sure since to me, this is not an add-on after the fact, it's being designed in today, so it should blend in. But I wanted to see if anybody had any questions.
And it appears that it was already approved.
Oh, yeah, you didn't really answer that
Yeah.
question. Was
So
it in
the applicant had indicated to us, we spoke with Todd McClutchy of Imagineers last week, and he had indicated to us that the commission originally approved the solar arrays as part of the commission's original approval
It's in the
in
resolution.
2016. So he subsequently sent us this drawing that you have in front of you now, showing the solar arrays. But like Jeremy had mentioned, we went through the file tonight and earlier in the day to see if we could find anything, and we didn't see anything in the file or in the resolution approving the project. So we think it makes sense for the commission to just approve the solar panels tonight.
Cool. And that was approved in 2016?
I believe so.
So all this stuff is dated 2019, so it might have been after the
Yeah.
fact. Okay.
Do we know what percentage of the building will be powered by this?
We do not, no.
I mean, I kind of
you'll-
want to find that out. I mean, I think it's a great green
Yeah.
initiative, but I don't know what that
Yeah.
means because there's been no data presented.
Right.
Yeah, it's only, actually, it's interesting. It's only a small part. It's only on the western roof,
Right.
whereas sometimes you see it all over the building. It's just a small part of the building. We are working with them on, you may recall during the public hearing, the air conditioning units and getting trying to screen them and put plantings for the air conditioning units. Some of them are getting moved around, so I'm in the process of reviewing that plan as well.
Yeah.
But that question did come up about, and it wasn't, I don't know if it says it on the
I
plans we
couldn't
gave you,
Understand,
how much of the building is being powered. I would doubt that I would be guessing if I said that what they show will do the whole building.
I have no idea. Could you find that out though? 'Cause
We'll
that is-
find out.
Yeah.
It does, on here, it does say that the KW, which is 14.4.
I just don't know what
Yeah,
that means.
I'm used to like huge buildings. It's usually 114.4.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is. I'd like to know. I think the
Yeah,
town
we'll
should
get
know
you an
as
answer.
well what percentage of our buildings are powered by green initiatives. Would also be a cool thing for the future.
Do
Like
you
we're
want to
seeing-
hold up our
Yeah.
approval of this
Yeah, I do.
before we
Sorry.
do that?
I mean,
That's
we've never
okay.
seen it before, so, yeah, it's lovely.
Is it possible that because this is on the hidden side, what I would call the hidden side of the building, that the ARB had some input into this decision? It's okay as long as you put it on the back side of the building?
But see, that's what, I don't know if it is on the next, because if you come down Highland,
You're gonna be able to see it from Highland.
you're going to see it coming down
Yeah.
Highland.
I think the idea is where you get the most sun.
Right.
Right.
The back side of the building's over here.
So
and
let me just also clarify that the 11 by 17 sheet that we put in front of you shows 3 separate solar arrays. They're actually only proposing 2 of those 3 solar arrays. So the smallest of the 3 solar arrays will not be going on. And the larger packet showing the solar panels shows the actual configuration of what they're looking to do at this point.
Yeah, one's dated, the one from the architect's dated November, the one from the solar energy company's dated December.
Right.
Yep.
Now, we do see, just while we're on this topic, of all the building permits we see anywhere, depending on the month, 30 to 40 zoning and building permits. Everything from decks, sheds, new houses, new foundations, tenant fit-ups for commercial, all kinds of stuff. Usually 2 a month are solar on a house. So more and more, we're seeing consistently a couple permits every month for people putting solar panels on the roof of their house. And Dave checks them, yep, comply, great, send them through.
That's awesome. We really should start tracking that data then, if it's becoming, so that we don't have to go back more years.
Yeah, we send them
2 a
up.
month is a lot.
What's interesting is the fire marshal keeps track, because if there's a problem, they want to know, hey, can we get on the roof?
Right.
What's on the roof?
Right.
So we do keep tabs on all the solar installations, and
Do they submit data on what percentage of the house is going to be powered by solar?
I have not seen the data. I haven't looked.
Good for us to know. Why not? Be
Okay.
smart. Be smart to do it.
Let
Do
me
they,
get-
oh, I'm
Town
gonna,
plan.
this is a fun topic. Do they,
You're a green guy, you said that.
I am. Oh my God, I'm a laws of physics guy.
You are, you do.
Do, is there a range of solar products that everyone's using, or is there sort of one consistent product that is used uniformly across? And one of the reasons I'm asking is I read an article recently talking about the flip side. There's been a lot of kind of hazardous materials in the composed, of the solar panels. And what happens is, whatever, 10, 15 years from now, when they start hitting the end of their useful life, which I actually don't know I'm making that up, I don't know what that is. So if we're building up, if everyone's putting them in and then 30 years from now, all of a sudden, everything needs to be replaced, I think we need to know kind of, that might be something. good
Yeah, I
to
haven't
know,
looked
too.
closely at each and every permit to see if it's just one installer, or if it's 10 different installers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the technology's changing, still, I think you're talking about the product. The
Yeah, that
technology's
product.
changing all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, the
Right.
product.
I mean, I don't know if you watched one of the presidential debates, but there was a discussion about that, the solar panels in Vegas, that they're not
Oh,
feasible
yeah.
and they're shutting them down.
Totally shut
Oh, I
down.
didn't see that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a situation.
No, there's a
Um,
situation in Rhode Island too, not with solar, but with wind.
Yeah, but I can tell you, when our project design people get into solar on a building, they definitely get bids from 3 different manufacturers and tear sheets. This, we don't own this building, and the town doesn't own it, so we're just approving it based upon, you know, the use and any change. I just wanted to make sure because of the look of it. It's not like a school where we're paying for it, we're gonna pay for it again 10 years from now.
I guess
Sorry, go
similar to
ahead.
that, like, because it is gonna be visible from residential neighborhoods, and I guess I can't really tell from this, and this one, the font's so small, it's hard for me to read it. But like, how much higher will they make it? I suspect that it will be lower because there's.
Flat to the roof.
Right, okay.
Flat, it's not gonna be
So
the
while
tilt
it's
off
visible,
on it.
it's,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Flat to
good.
the
But
roof.
there's a snap rack. There's a snap rack on it.
Right, but I don't think they're tilted to the roof.
But they're gonna be elevated, right? That's what you mean?
I mean, I
based
think
on
they'll
this
be
picture.
elevated, but
How much?
I
I don't
think
know.
they'll be, I think that part of the roof is lower than the top of the build, like, isn't there like facade over it?
It's not a flat roof. Did you say it's a
Tilt
flat roof?
18
No, it's-
degrees, guys. It says 18 degrees. It does not say the difference, right? It says pre-engineered truss is 24 inches. From the snap rack, the left foot flashing to the solar panel, it doesn't give that width, that height.
Okay, let me see if I can have an idea. Architecture review did not see this at all, right?
ARB didn't see it?
No, this is,
Right.
no.
Do you
See
think,
what?
do you think, they didn't see this plan?
Yeah, I think they should
Do
see
you think we should send it to ARB? Let me stick poll of the audience.
I would,
it. Yeah.
I would think so.
Yes, no, maybe so.
No.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
I got 2 no's.
I would just think I'd like to know this, how big they're gonna be and how visible they'll be from streets and neighbors, and if it will be substantially higher. I
Okay.
suspect they won't be, but
Larry, yes or no?
I'll say yes.
oh wait, hold on.
Jen?
Oh, here, there's
You go
another one.
first.
I'm chairman, man. Nice, sorry.
So, should we get our questions answered first and then decide?
What,
Yeah,
the
that's-
question,
Because if it's
I
like,
mean,
if it's only, if, you know,
I'm on
if
the
it's
fence.
3 or 6 inches off the roof, I mean, we don't need to wait however many more weeks. to finish this.
right, but my point
It's not
is,
gonna
if,
change the looks.
for argument's sake, say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us say yes, and you vote no, it's gonna pass, right? So, do
But
we
I
wanna
should
hold
have
it up?
provided additional
All
information.
right, do we wanna hold it up for additional information, or do you wanna hold it up to just, or for someone else to look at it? Because I don't really care what percentage of the building that is powering. It doesn't matter to me. I think it's, if it's 5%, I think it's great. If it's 95%, I think it's great too.
I wanna know the height of this, I mean, I get, yeah, but then when I ask for that, then it's like, am I sending it to ARB? Because really, that's not for me to decide, right?
It's usually for these guys. It was when this came up to us, and I want to, like I said earlier, being transparent, I asked Jeremy if it went to ARB, and Jeremy goes, I don't think it needs to.
No, and I can see that from like, I didn't think that really until here tonight, hearing everyone else, I'm like, uh-oh. Now thinking, what do you
The
think?
design or the character of the building.
I just don't know.
Did
It's
the
visible.
original application
No.
for Old Town Houses go to ARB?
Yes.
It did.
All right.
But it didn't have
Has
this
to.
on it.
They say
We-
it did.
Do we know that?
But yeah, they said they couldn't find it. And then these are dated 2019.
No,
When was it
but
approved?
We couldn't find it here.
Yeah,
But it was
indicated.
approved in
Yeah.
2016.
Do
Yes.
we know whether ARB found it?
In the artist renderings that ARB would have looked at, would have been in P and Z's files.
Right.
Okay.
So if the artist renderings in P and Z's files had
I
it,
didn't understand that.
Wait, say that again?
if the architecture in P and Z, if
2016 or
the
2019?
artist
2019.
renderings that the architectural review board saw, and they were on it, ARB would have seen it.
Right,
And that's
but-
in 2016.
So what we can do is as
They
follows.
didn't.
But
One-
it's not in the file currently, right?
Correct.
Right, one option would be for us to go through the ARB file from 5 years ago. If the solar panels are shown, they're good. Solar panels not shown, send it back to ARB.
I mean, is there a way to
that's
just ask them if this is something that they think is in their purview and they'd like to,
Well, we could certainly ask them, hey,
I mean, at some point.
if you
wasting
guys
their
want to,
time.
it's up to you. ARB meets next week.
Okay, is there any rush for us to approve this to satisfy?
Well, I think
the
rush is
developer?
relative. I think they're hoping to finish this project in July. The
Right.
building permit's in our office. It's
But
been
for
sitting there for
some, for
weeks.
some reason, say we denied it, is there a long lead time for them to order these parts?
I don't know.
Denied it or approved it?
If they already ordered them and they get denied, or if it gets held up and they gotta order them on Tuesday, and they get held up for 2 more weeks,
Well, again, that would.
and they come in August? and they think
Yeah,
it's
but I
supposed to
didn't understand why there'd be a problem. If it's denied, they wouldn't order anything.
Maybe they wanted-
open? Yeah, I mean, it's the other way around.
George.
Right, the other way around.
Okay.
Your logic.
Sorry, okay.
My
Okay.
sense is that the product may have been ordered already. So what happened is Imagineers came in to planning and zoning and filed for a zoning and building permit to install the solar panels. And David Keating, the zoning enforcement officer, said, you know, hey, we don't recall the commission approving these panels. You're gonna have to go back before the commission to get this approved before we issue a zoning and building permit for it.
Then I
That's
think,
where it came.
then I think, given that, and since they may not, but I think we should
Excuse me.
look through the ARB file and see what they saw at that time, because if they, had their deliberations and made their approvals based on.
Right, if it's
renderings
shown
that
on their
didn't have
plans,
this, right,
then
then
it's already been
moving on.
approved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not for us.
So let's leave it that way. If ARB approved, if we can find that plan,
Or that it was an artist.
good to go.
renderings.
I will move approval of this condition on ARB having already
I was
approved.
hoping someone would
Totally
say
agree.
that.
Yes.
I got a
George.
second.
Great.
I'm in with George.
I got a second. All's in favor for conditional approval based upon ARB?
okay, great, 6-0.
There you go.
And if-
Jim,
Mr. Rand.
And if they didn't approve it, send it back.
so then send it to ARB.
And I'll follow up on your
Yeah,
request.
mine's not to approve or deny. Mine's information.
Okay, moving on. We're done with the new stuff. Next is deliberations only, special permit application number 297A. I'm gonna blow it. Alfya Skincare, Alfya, I blow it again. Murtazina, 963 Hoyt Street, proposal to operate a limited skin healthcare consultancy esthetician services at a home office occupation. This was the woman that I think has an office in New Canaan now. She added an addition to her house a couple of years back, and now wants to make that addition to her house legal to put in her home occupation. Full disclosure, last time I saw this, I wasn't really a big fan of it, but that's my overall opinion. It looks like it's a small operation, but I'll leave it to you guys to see whoever wants to talk, so.
I'm
Let's start this in.
trying to remember the details of the 2 or 3 years ago discussion, but in the event, it didn't go ahead. Same woman, same plan, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Just make-believe, extra bedroom or whatever it is.
Very similar application. In that case, the commission deliberated, and then after the deliberations, where the commission kind of walked themselves through the standards in section 405, the applicants withdrew the application, and that was, I think, a few years ago.
Okay.
That would have been
So we
July.
didn't turn it down, it just got withdrawn.
Yeah, it was
Correct.
July 18th of 2017,
Okay.
so it's a year and a half ago.
I have no
George.
problem with it.
Okay? Kara?
I guess, I think when you're going through 405, one of the prohibited uses is a beauty salon or beauty parlor, and I'm not sure, would we consider this a beauty parlor or beauty salon? The traffic and intensity of a beauty parlor and beauty salon seems more intense to me than a one person at a time facial. One woman doing the services herself. So that sort of seems like the intensity of use and like the cars coming in and out and the number of employees would be significantly different than the intensity of, I think, what the regs call a beauty salon.
Right, but this, I think, is one, it's it's one customer at a time.
And one
I
person,
think,
and one service
and one,
provider.
and one service provider,
And no
that's what I was
employees.
looking for, right.
Yeah, so I think the intensity and overall traffic and usage of this would be different than what the regs call a beauty salon, or beauty, yeah, whatever the wording is.
Right.
So I think it's different.
Yeah.
Okay,
One at
Yeah, I
a
mean,
time,
when I went
30-minute
through-
intervals.
right, and then I think in the, when the applicant was here testifying, I think Jennifer wanted them to make sure the appointments are a half an hour apart or 15 minutes apart, or was that, who cared?
Wasn't me, but I like it. I think it's a good idea.
No, I think I was talking about like.
She's a scheduling service.
She's a scheduling service, and sort of similar to what we saw at the gym.
Right, she might use a textbook or a daytime.
Whatever, but I think
that's-
like if you have some sort of system, then it's an additional control on the number of people and the intensity of this
Well,
usage.
yeah, I mean, I think there was a certain laws of physics, because
Yeah.
you could only do one client at a time. And it sounded like she had a significant amount of cleanup prep time
Right.
between the clients.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So she needs to have at least 15 minutes to a half hour between appointments anyway.
She said that.
Yeah.
I found it very consistent with a lot of with 405 and several of the uses that were being used.
Right.
And, I mean, frankly, it's across the street from a country club, and it's,
Right, it's heavier usage.
and it's got a train tracks in the backyard, so.
Our issue last time were sight lines, but I didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't look at it
I
last
mean,
time.
I think it's fine.
Yes.
I'm very supportive.
We had neighbor opposition last time too. Jen,
I'm fine.
you're fine with it, okay? It sounds like you got a yes, you were a yes, you're a yes, you're a yes, and you're a yes.
So we will draft something up for an upcoming meeting, either on the 24th or the 31st, for an official vote by the commission.
Okay, and then the other thing in there is, I think, a half an hour between appointments.
That's the
Right.
sense I'm getting.
Yep.
Because we had 15 minutes, is what she said that, and I think we extended it for a half hour, because somebody made the suggestion. Okay? Done? Good. Next, moving right along. Landfilling and regrading application number 451A, Michael Gedney, 145 Old Kings Highway North. Proposal to regrade and associate with the construction of an in-ground swimming pool, spa, and associated patio area to perform related site development activities. We did a draft resolution and a deliberation at the same time. I think at Fred's suggestion and my agreement with his suggestion. This is pretty much a straightforward pool. They're going into the wetlands. We did have some neighbor discussion. We talked about the neighbors. One of the neighbors is our past town clerk, who knows the rules and regulations very well. I think the neighbors were satisfied. I did have one issue relative to a rock wall where the pool equipment was. Right now, because the rock wall is, 3 feet, 12 and a half, or 11 and a half inches, it doesn't have to get engineered, that's the rules of the road. We've run across, that's an issue of my issue, because it's holding up a thing, but when we've seen that happen before, the building department, Peter, I forget his last name? Solheim, he rejects it and makes the wall be engineered. So if in his professional opinion, that doesn't need to be engineered, then so be it. Let's start at this end this time.
Okay with
Jen,
it.
you good? You good? You good?
I'm good.
You good?
You seem to have gone above and beyond with the Coltex system. and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes. I will also tell you that Michael Gedney is the president of Wagner Pools, so he's building his own house. I don't think
He's gonna
good.
nail it.
Okay, so, exactly,
If he doesn't, probably not great PR for him.
yes. So if everyone would grab out their draft, if you grab your draft of the resolution, it's dated March 10th. If anybody read it, has any questions, comments, edits, typos, scribner's errors?
Small typo.
Perfect, that means I know you read it. Awesome.
I did read it. Yes. Just Mr. Doug Walters isn't capitalized on.
Ooh,
Oh, yes, number 4, thank you.
He's so polite.
good.
Okay, with that, anybody else?
I've read it 3 times here.
Motion to approve the resolution as edited.
Motion to approve as edited.
Jennifer, you have a second? Jim Rand's back in the
Of course you
scoreboard.
do.
All's in favor? Eyeball?
Thank you.
Good luck, Mike, you get yourself a new pool.
Sean did a great job presenting.
Okay, He was all excited, that guy, wasn't he? Deliberation, possible decision on any hearing matters closed on March 10th. We closed a hearing, which is the special permit application for the Darien tree repair. I would like to deliver that.
Yeah.
If anybody has any objection?
Yeah.
Okay. No objection? I think it's a great application, great use. I don't see any issues. I suggested they write a favorable report. Any comments?
No.
1, 2,
Endorse.
3.
Great.
Enthusiastic.
Okay,
We'll have something for the next meeting.
perfect. Yep, good to go. Next on the agenda, director's report. I don't have, oh no, I'm sorry, director's report is Jeremy. Yes, sir.
The only thing I'll mention is if you've driven through Heights Road, you've seen Federal Realty's installing that drainage near Walgreens. Yep, they've moved along pretty quickly, and the Palmers have installed the drainage system underneath the parking lot behind the supermarket, and that's moving along well. And so things are moving, and then the demolition on the Palmer side will probably start this month or next month. And the new Walgreens, yeah, that's a whole different issue, And then certainly the new Walgreens, you might see that getting underway probably in April.
Perfect. Any questions for Jeremy? No, good. Chairman's report, that would be me. On Friday or last week, whatever, I guess maybe it's March 3rd. March 3rd, Jamie released a press release with the affordable housing report study that we did. Jeremy went through 4 different machinations after it was done by adding things and subtracting things. A copy of the press release was emailed to you and also included in the packet. I think Jeremy and Jamie and some of my help, I think it's a great job. I think it tells a great story for our town. And I hope other people that look at our town pay attention to it. I don't know if it's gonna be in the Darien Times at all, but it was sent to the Darien Times. I didn't see it picked up by any other newspaper. That's that. In every packet, I get Architecture Review Board items. The only I would say relative to that is the ARB approved the renovations to the proposed renovations to the back of the Darien Playhouse. They approved, like I said earlier, Spiro's building, and they approved, it's been going on for a while, but we never saw Pasta Villa.
Pasta Vida is going to go right next to where Orange Theory is.
Right.
It's a small little grocery. I've heard great things about it. They're up in Old Saybrook or something
Yeah.
like that.
My wife has been trying to convince them to come down here for 10 years.
Oh, that's fine.
They will be here next month.
Fast food store.
You'll see their temporary sign go up in the next couple days with opening probably in 30 days.
Yeah, right, me too.
They don't have to come down?
Zip up my-
Nope,
Yeah, I was
as of
gonna
right,
say-
grandfathered retail in that
Yeah.
space.
We, that new tenant was inside the State of the Town speech. And
Yes.
we never saw it on our planning zoning commission because just Jeremy said it was grandfathered, it was a retail for retailer.
Great.
Relative to that, I don't think it's gonna hit our desk, but because of the new Pasta Villa and Orange Theory and what else is there,
The last space
no,
in
the
that building,
Nino's, the Nino's,
Oh,
the pizza parlor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nino's was a swap out of
Yeah.
Matsu.
I've heard traffic issues up there,
Really? I've never seen the traffic.
yeah.
Gone
The
there.
restaurant,
Their parking lot is full.
Always full.
Right, which is a good thing.
It's good.
It's a good thing.
No, I'm sick of businesses, of
Right.
restaurants
Yeah.
going out of business.
It's the old Yogi Berra theory, it's so
Yeah, yeah,
crowded,
yeah.
nobody goes there anymore.
Right,
I hate
exactly.
The traffic issue.
I'm dying to go, that's where I'm gonna go.
And they deliver.
The other thing that I just want you guys to know, relative to construction and timing and whatnot, in the Heights, both of those projects, and it was in the paper again this weekend, we talked about it at OPC, both of those projects, Federal and Palmer's, are being run by the same construction management company, which is AP Construction. So I think the coordination between those two people are gonna be very good. And the last thing is, I've been trading phone calls and emails, actually more phone calls, with Kip Kuntz about the Ox Ridge. He and I are gonna get together and talk sometime to make sure when they do come back to us in April, that we're all on the same page. Okay? I don't think their application's gonna be in until April. And one of the big things that, with the takeaway from that was the traffic report, and that's not done yet.
I
So they're
have a
gonna do a
suggestion.
deep dive into that.
Sounds interesting, but, I mean, it's sort of like for town planning, but because it's an elementary school and my kids have such choice opinions about Tokeniques, the way that it was built, and having come from Royle, I was thinking that there should be, that little girl came, there should be a 5th grade coalition of all the elementary schools. I'm not joking. Because they will give us the best information about designing a playground. My son will tell you, I miss Royle, our, like, Tokeniques playground stinks. And it was designed too small.
Yeah.
And I fear,
Oh.
after your conversation, and I think 5th graders would be the best people to talk about what should be designed
That's
for
a good
kids.
idea. That's a good idea. I'll
Well,
pass it on when I
Pass
speak
it
to
on.
them.
I think it'd be awesome.
I mean, the old Oxford playground, I don't think anyone past kindergarten used it. It was-
No, but
No,
there's a
that's
new
true,
Oxford
but it's
playground now
new.
that was just built, but I think it's more like there's not a lot of it, but.
Yeah, I
new
mean,
design
it's
stuff,
the-
I just think if you're gonna spend the money, you should do it right for the kids.
But not, when my kids were in homeschool, the PTO was one that, you know, said we could do it, and they paid for it. And the thing about PTOs, and
That's what
it's,
we did too.
each PTO has the same number of money, and they can't, one PTO can't be richer than another one.
Right.
And I think the PTO just did whatever they want. When it was in, the 5th graders were like, ah, the colors look like little kids, but I don't know. I'll make the suggestion when I speak to, when I
I
speak to
would
think it'd
kids.
just
be pretty
point out
cool.
that I know there are ed specs that have been carefully created
Yeah.
by the Board of Education, issued and implemented by the building committee, and I don't think we're not going to redesign it, and I don't think 5th graders are going to redesign it, but
Well, then for the
you may
next
have
school,
stirred them up.
'cause we're-
now,
there
so
are
see if
other
they
schools
come.
that are gonna come in front of us, and I
Yep.
think there's oftentimes
I
no
hope
input
Hindley
from the
gets
ones that
done
use
soon.
it.
So, any questions for me? That's basically my chairman's report. I think this was a pretty quiet week, and I like it like that.
Cool.
Next, approval of minutes dated February 25th. That was a general meeting. Other than that, we didn't have any customers. Then we had the informal discussion with Oxford School.
I'm
Any customers about this?
shocked to determine that there must be some cutting and pasting going on,
Yes.
because
Same
Mr.
day.
Walters'
Yes.
W is not capital.
How is that possible? That's on page
3,
5.
5,
Yeah.
Yes,
gotcha.
good one, George.
Okay,
Keeping up with Karen.
that's that legal training. Isn't it?
I don't remember Mr. Hiltz agreeing to postpone or continue the public hearing.
He had to. He had to.
Oh, I thought he was kind of standing his ground.
No. He had to even advance. In advance of, the meeting was supposed to
Okay.
close that meeting, so we weren't even gonna talk about it because he did extend it.
Okay.
And what's interesting is, since then, obviously, that you may recall,
Yeah.
without going into detail, he was asked to gather more information, and Fred and I have been CC'd on the back and forth in terms of, okay, I'm reaching out to a surveyor, and so he's pursuing it, and we may see him March 24th. Maybe it'll take a little more time, but he's trying to gather the required information, so that's a good.
But
thing.
his meeting with the commission in,
Well, first, he's got to get the new information.
Right.
DEP, Army Corps, 5 Mile River Commission, so he's got a lot of work to do.
great, okay. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes as edited. Kara, yes, on the board. Jim's been a seconder all
There you
night.
go,
Wow,
there
keep
you go.
going.
Why not?
Well, I came late, I don't feel so.
All right.
Now you proved you were here.
Kara motion, Jim seconded, all's in favor? Eyeball, 6-0. We get to get home from the debates, I'm trying to break another record.
You're the man.
Um,
Do it.
That was part of our discussion at the beginning. Calendar updates, March 24th, public hearing, we just heard about that. The 14 Raven Street might be back on the docket on that date, if they make
Oh,
it
wait,
here.
which date? March 20?
March 24th is our next
24th,
meeting.
right.
So we have a couple weeks off. Today's only, what, the 10th? We have 2 weeks off. What else is on that meeting, guys?
We have a number of public hearings for the night of the 24th. At this point, they all seem to be fairly, cross our fingers, fairly innocuous at this point. Neighbor letters have gone out. We haven't heard from anyone. On first glance, the applications seem pretty straightforward. So it'll be a full night of public hearings, but nothing too contentious.
And
Is
if,
that the night that the Historic Center special permit?
The Historic Society is looking to put a summer camp in, they're gonna be rebranding themselves called the Museum of Darien. So
That's
they're working on new signage with the Architecture Review Board, and as part of that, someone came to them with an opportunity to put a summer camp there this year. That's not in their existing special permit, so we'll have the commission review that aspect of their special permit.
another summer camp, awesome. Just so you guys know, full disclosure, we talked earlier about Oxford's Building Committee coming to us in April. As per, if you look at our meeting application deadline, for the April 28th meeting, public hearing is on April 13th, which is what, 3 days from now?
March 13th.
March 13th, which is 3 days from now. Fred, Jeremy, and I spoke about it. We're going to give them a little bit of latitude that they can get their application in later than the due date, but the governing factor is the date of the mailing. They have to have the certified mailing go out and come back, whatever date that is, and I think that's what, 10 days
And
in
then-
advance or something like that?
It's got to be done at least 10 days in advance. I did speak to one of their consultants today who said, no, it'll be here on time. It'll be here Friday, the application.
Okay.
So we expect it Friday, Monday at the latest. And then depending, as I explained, depending on how many other applications we get, what we do is, the deadline is this Friday, we come to work Monday morning, we see just what you see, the stack of paper, and we try to figure out who's going to be on which agenda, how long each application will need, and then we'll know for sure at that time who's on for April 21, who's on for April 28, who's on for May 5th, and try to sort it all out.
And is that date important to them because of the state funding deadlines and the grant?
Yeah, every date's important to them, from what I know.
Yeah, but I think there's
There's
queuing in line with the state funding.
Right, there
That's
is certainly an
that's
outside
crucial
date
dates.
that they've talked to me about is, because I've said, your hearing could take one night, it could take 2 nights, the commission technically has 2 months to make a decision. Please be aware of that, and we talked about this 6 months ago, as you back it up, as you
Right.
put your little Gantt chart together, leave the commission a little time to deliberate and decide it, please book that. So they've been very cautious about that, but you're right, there is a point where they have to get everything up to the state. And I think
Right.
I
I think it's June.
think it might be June, I'd be guessing.
And they want to do all that drainage, there's some,
No, but I think they have to be in
I
the state
may-
for June for state
yeah,
funds.
I hear you, but
I have to recuse myself on that.
That, they-
Oxbridge.
Yeah, I
recusing
think-
yourself is, according to state law, is your decision, and the applicant can make, I want that guy recused, like me, get him off, I want him off, they can do that.
They probably want you off, Jim.
But if you, I know,
After that meeting. I
my
think
wife
they want
wants me
you
off too.
Well,
They just-
But if you had, the overriding factor is if you have a financial, interest in it or professional interest in it, I think you have to get off, but it's up to you. It's your
Kind
call.
of does.
It depends on what they do with the
Yeah, he
drainage,
kind of does.
frankly.
and and also if you or your wife want to speak, then you'd have to recuse yourself.
Yeah, if your wife wants to speak.
My wife wants to speak, I'm recused?
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that's the other thing we'll have to balance, is making sure we have a quorum for that night. I think, Larry, you said you're missing a meeting. We'll have to sort that out, and that's
Right.
what we do, is make sure we have a quorum for
We need
whenever.
4 people for a
We
quorum.
need 4 people.
It's
Okay.
April what?
Could be April 21st, depending on what other
Yeah,
applications
I'm looking at
come in.
this,
Okay.
21st.
Still a little uncertain.
Okay. What else? The other meeting, the next meeting, we
4
just
minutes.
talked about that, March 31st. Anything special relative to that?
You're good.
March 31st is likely to be the hearing on the addition to the theater. That's likely to be the 31st. And then we're looking to possibly add a meeting the week of April 13th.
Is the theater's stuff in yet?
The theater stuff is in, and it's been posted to the town website,
Okay.
darienct.gov/PZC. Anyone who wants to see the plans, the proposal, the traffic report, all that has been posted to the town website.
Okay.
I don't know the proper, like, who to have the discussion, maybe the property owner, but I mean, I've received a lot of people coming up to me about the theater in particular, and just sort of like sadness and like, gonna miss it, nostalgia. And remember he had mentioned something about donating, remember he brought up the town of Ridgefield, or somewhere that does like the
I do,
movie
yeah.
nights.
Drive-ins?
No, not
Yes.
drive-ins,
Oh,
at town hall, and he brought
This
that up.
theater down here.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So I mean, I don't know, I don't think that needs to be part of a formal public, this here, this body, but, if there's a way that he can,
Fob them off on Jamie.
Don't
yes,
Well,
that's what I was thinking.
That's what she gets the big bucks.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can-
exactly.
I've mentioned to people who have concerns,
Yeah.
members of the public who have come up to me.
There's a
I
lot.
said, really, the only way your concerns are gonna be heard by this Planning and Zoning Commission is either a letter, an email, or come into the meeting. So I've relayed people to that.
And they can send an email to you or a conversation with you, and you can mention,
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't
I
have to
think
have a
they'll-
paper
they should
trail.
come on March 24th if they really
Right.
want to.
March 31st, right.
31st.
Anyone who's interested, one way or the other, positive, negative,
But I don't think people are
neutral.
wedded to that location. I think they're just wedded to like the nostalgia of a movie, but it's like, were you going to the movie? Like, would be
Right.
there? Like,
And certainly,
Pay
I
you
know
that?
Jamie Stevenson has met with the applicant to talk about his idea.
Yeah, oh, good.
Okay. The next, the week of April 13th, possible special meeting with executive session.
Yes, we're gonna see as it gets a little closer, but we're setting aside that night for an executive session with town council and possibly some deliberation and maybe decisions on the hearing matters for the 24th and 31st.
Okay. Some legal proceedings have been pushed back because they've been delayed by certain lawyers.
Happens all the time.
And April 21st, we already talked about that. So I think we're done with our next meetings.
2 minutes.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. Any other business requires a 2/3 vote? I'm not gonna take a vote, so we can't vote. I would entertain a motion to adjourn and be
Motion to
done.
adjourn.
We have a second? Jim, come on, man.
All
All in favor?
All right, yeah.
2 minutes.
Bonnie, I got 8:58.
You good.
We started at 8:01.
Jeremy, where's the